Hello, my name is Mary Kay Clark, and my signature project topic is the effects of individualized reading instruction on reading proficiency. Individualized reading instruction is done in a small group setting and focuses on the needs of students in phonics, fluency, and comprehension. Reading proficiency does not simply have to do with decoding words to form sentences, but rather making meaning out of the text. The identified problem. Educators within the Opelika City School District are following guidelines put in place by the Alabama Reading Initiative to help poor readers become proficient. The Alabama Reading Initiative is a statewide initiative committed to supporting high-quality instruction that will prepare all students with literacy skills needed to meet or exceed grade level standards. The purpose of this proposal is to show the impact of individualized small group instruction on overall reading performance. Why choose this problem? Reading proficiency has been an ongoing problem for many years within the state of Alabama. In the Alabama public school system, the number of proficient readers has decreased, leading to the state's passage of the Literacy Act. This legislation states that students who are currently in the third grade and are not reading at grade level will be retained. Background information. For this study, the following research question was addressed. Will intentional small group reading instruction increase reading proficiency at Morris Avenue Intermediate School? As part of this study, the investigation included one research hypothesis. Intentional small group instruction will increase reading proficiency. There is a direct correlation with students who do not receive intentional reading instruction or an intervention with their performance in reading skills overall. Students who receive daily small group instruction differentiated to fit their needs will begin to see improvements in the subject in reading. Students that enjoy reading do not fall in the category of a struggling reader and oftentimes have had intentional teacher-directed phonics instruction. Those that are poor readers and have an educator that does not know how to coach or scaffold will not make great strides to be proficient readers, and in turn, this educator will have lower student achievement levels. If students do not receive intentional data-driven small group instruction at an early age, this will affect them into adulthood, and their dislike and discomfort with reading will only increase. Along with the long-term effects, reading is integrated into all other major core subjects, so student achievement levels will decrease across all subject areas. The data provided in this section will explain the reading proficiency levels through the years 2017 through 2019 for Morris Avenue Intermediate School, as well as the reading proficiency levels compared to the other intermediate schools within the Opelika City Schools District. The problem shown in the data is that although the reading proficiency levels have increased, there is still a gap between those who are proficient and those that are not. The problem that is being addressed is targeting the students who are below proficiency level and the effects of individualized reading instruction on their overall performance in reading instruction. The data proves the hypothesis that when students participate in intentional small group reading instruction, their overall reading performance will improve. The schools featured in Figure 2 and 3 began a new reading program following the year 2017, implementing small group reading instruction. As shown by the data, Figures 2 and 3, there was a system-wide increase in reading proficiency following the implementation of small group instruction. Following 2017, small group instruction was implemented system-wide. Given that small group reading instruction was not implemented before 2017, there has been an increase in reading proficiency across all intermediate schools within the district. Research methods. To conduct this research study, the researcher plans to utilize a quantitative data collection method by comparing the standardized test scores. These scores will be collected first in August, uses pre-test, and every month following to compare performance based on the instruction. There will be a post-test that will take place in December at the end of the fall term. This standardized test that the students will be participating in will test their knowledge of phonics, fluency, and comprehension. The researcher plans to use a specific quasi-experimental design that focuses on a pre-test and post-test score. Along with the pre-test given at the beginning of the fall term and the post-test given at the end of the fall term, classroom teachers participating in the experiment will administer weekly assessments to track the students' progress in the given areas of phonics, fluency, and comprehension. The independent variable in the research study is the small group reading instruction that the student will receive over the time of the study, and the dependent variable is overall student achievement. The control group of the study will be small group instruction curriculum that is set in place by the Opelika City School District. The research study will begin following the administration of the Ames-Webb standardized test. This test will be administered during the second full week of the school year, before any small group reading instruction taking place. Once the data has been received, the researchers will notify the grade level teachers of their status as either non-participant, control group, or experimental group. Following the notification of their status in the experiment, classroom teachers will randomly number their students 1 to 15 and use a random number generator to determine which 5 students in their classroom they will be collecting data from for the study. Then, classroom teachers will begin administering their small group instruction. The control group will be following the curriculum pacing guide set in place by the Opelika City School District. The experimental group will be administering small group instruction based on the needs of their students and with the data from the Ames Web Standardized Test identified as the student needs. Following each week of the instruction, the classroom teachers in both the control and experimental group will administer an assessment to gather data on the progress of their students. At the end of the fall semester, students will complete the Ames Web Standardized Test as the post-test. The data from both the pre-test and post-test will then be compared for all of the test subjects. The population will be divided based on the experimental group or control group for the remainder of the study, August to December. The Ames Web Standardized Test will be re-administered following a total of 5 months of instruction, and the data collected will determine if the hypothesis was correct or incorrect. Classroom teachers will monitor student performance weekly on assessments at the end of each week with these focus points. These are some constructive and operation definitions that I used in my study. According to one of the researchers' sources gathered, there is an increase in cognitive activity for struggling readers following the intervention in phonics. The research gathered shows a positive effect on well-structured reading intervention in elements such as phonics, phonemic awareness, and fluency. It has been debated by scholars that intervention is affected by group size, grade level, or intervention hours. Having more sessions of intervention rather than longer sessions were more beneficial in results. It was also concluded that the only effects in group size were one-on-one instruction. Students' overall score in the subject of reading from the Ames Web Standardized Test will be broken into the categories of vocabulary proficiency, reading comprehension proficiency, and oral fluency. This standardized test is owned by Pearson, which is a nationally recognized summative testing platform that is used yearly at Opelika City Schools. Students will complete the standardized test in reading on a computer without a time limit. Following the completion of this, students will be pulled individually to read a passage for 1 minute. The passage reading will test their ability in fluency. The weekly assessment will be the same for both the experimental group and the control group and have questions similarly phrased to Ames Web Standardized Test. The responsibility of classroom teachers during this time is to provide the researcher with weekly lesson plans that outline the instruction for the following week. This will be following the weekly assessment. The control group will be instructed to collect their results and give them immediately to the researcher. The experimental group, on the other hand, will be asked to review the results and pick one skill that will be the focus for the following week. All lesson plans will follow the Alabama State Standards for English Language Arts. The cooperation of all involved is important to observe the effect of data-driven small group instruction. Limitations. Steps will be taken to minimize limitations within the research study, but given that certain circumstances will be out of the direct control of the researcher or classroom teacher, some of these might include student absences, withdrawal, or illness, and could interfere with the student achievement within the research study. If a student requests to withdraw from the research study or the student refuses to complete the Ames Web Standardized Post-Test, this could interfere with the overall student achievement. By working collaboratively with the classroom teachers in both the experimental and control groups, the validity and accuracy of the research will remain intact throughout the experiment. The hypothesis hopes to prove a valuable connection with the student achievement within the subject of reading and intentional small group data-driven instruction. Reflection. Following the study, I have decided there are variables I would like to change. One change I would like to make is that this study was only conducted at Morris Avenue Intermediate School. I would like for it to be conducted at the other intermediate schools within my school district for several years to have extensive data. Another change that I would like to make is prior to the study beginning, have the teachers that are participating complete a survey on what professional development they have completed. I would also have them complete a post-survey to see if they were participating in any professional development as the study was going on, as I believe this could affect the outcome of student data. If monitoring reading instruction is successful, I would like to incorporate the study for math. Conducting more research over a long period of time will allow for a better understanding of the effects of individualized reading instruction. These are my resources that I used in my study. Thank you.